of minutes late. I went to the toilet and forgot about this. Yeah, so I'll start off. Someone asked me, Daniel Burbridge. Yeah, sorry, hype build that wasn't intentional. I was on the bog. Yeah, so I asked to. I haven't used this for a while. This is my Badger, which sort of makes some noise. Start with a wee jam. This thing does have car splits. Can't deal with that bit of mist. Need to do that again. Hey, Alvin, Daniel, and Joe. She also has humbuckers. Why any questions? That's interesting. Yeah, so that'll do. Time to start with Bucky. I was actually on the Bucky last night, and so this one has actually been started because I had like a bit left, and I bought a half bottle to get the label off it, not to drink it, and then I started this one. So I'm a little bit hungover, but I've actually had my dinner, so I shouldn't get too pissed too quickly. Hair of the dog, I'm pretty sure I can. Used to actually play that in Cranking House for the first couple of weeks. Yeah, so start off talking about this guitar, which if you've not seen one, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm not sure Badger was a great name for a guitar company. I think maybe puts people off. This is a serial number 58. It's got a Badger on the back of the headstock as well. So this is these were designed with help or something to do with Alan Entwistle, who's like a Trev Wilkinson sort of guy who, I don't know if he's English or American or something like that. Like one of these guitar-y guru people. But quite nice to get a job like that, actually. So I'd imagine this is probably made in China. It doesn't say on it. It's sort of a jazz master, a reverse body jazz master. But what I should have done, they're going to Badger. What was I saying? Yes, so I had a jazz master. I've given it back last week though. And a jazz master is twice the size of this, so it's got a really small body. A jazz master's huge. I think that was maybe why I was thinking the jazz master was so big, because this is kind of, it's kind of not a jazz master, but it is. You can get this upside down as well. There's actually someone who commented in one of my videos a few months ago and he said they've got piece of shit Badger, and he was like, they were going to give it to me, but I can't remember who it was, and I wish it just said, yeah, totally, I'll come and pick it up. It was during lockdown, so I couldn't do that. So if you do watch this, I totally want it, I'll come and pick it up. Another one. I nearly bought one 6 months ago that was basically this exact one, apart from it was the other way around, and it was inverse, so it was like a black scratch plate, white pickups, white body, black headstock, and I thought that was pretty cool. And it was the upside down, or the other way around from this, so the pickups like to there, the big horn there. I got this in a trade, and my thinking was, I'll be able to sell that. And just like, oh, totally, you want to put a collar split in this? It's got a collar split though, and that's the only thing I would do to this guitar. It's just, everything on it's just perfect for what it is, assuming you don't mind having a guitar that's called the Badger. They're not that expensive. That was one of the reasons I didn't want to sell it, because it's kind of huge arse. I'm sure that's your real name. Next time you're in Rutherglen. Yeah, I've not been out that way yet. I do still have to go and see, assuming you're not Andrew. There's somebody, one of my pals, need to go to, if you want me to fit a sustainer to his guitar. I don't know if that's you or not. Or it's the guy I've got to pick up the Rickenbacker bass, which I've still not done. But I will get around to it. Yeah, so if you look these up, they're about 120, 130 quid, I think, or they were when I got it. When I got this one, they were on order only, though. It came with the most fantastic looking case when you look it up online, but the case is like 90 quid. So, you're going to spend 130 quid in a guitar and 90 quid in the case. So it didn't come with a case, but they do look rather good. So I think this is a classic of the future. It's really, you're talking about Squire Affinity, really, aren't you? And again, it's one of those things that, yes, it's better than the lower end Squires at the same price, but I'd imagine the price of these will drop quite quickly. It's like you're buying it for 120, 130, you're probably, I don't know if you're getting 80 quid for it, sort of thing, immediately. Kind of strange. Yeah, but I don't know, what's up? Nothing particularly new. So I'm just basically raving about this guitar, and if you ever see one second hand and it's like 80 quid or something like that, it's totally worth it. Excellent. You can get a Strat trem, Seymour Duncan invadery looking pickups. They're not, they'll just be Chinese copies, but I mean they do sound quite rock. I've actually used this in the studio through a big amp and stuff like that, kind of sort of out of curiosity, and it was totally fine. It was great. When I got it, I was thinking I was going to paint it a different colour, because I generally don't like black guitars, but I think I'm just going to change my mind on that and just accept black guitars a bit more. I've got these two, which I've got recently, the Aria lasers, and they're both black, and I've got the MIDI guitar, there's black, and it's like, that's fine. I'll just accept black guitars. Partly, if this hadn't been called a Badger, I would maybe have painted it yellow, because I think that would look rather cool. But Badgers are black and white, so it seems too right to be in there. So it's got a fantastic glossy neck on it as well. The neck feels like, I try to pick up a guitar that you would know feels very almost exactly the same as my Grant over there, which nobody will know what it's like because nobody's got one. I don't know, maybe more of a Les Pauly type neck, maybe. Kind of, but definitely Fendery. Not even sure if it's Fender scale. I'm totally taking a guess that it is Fender scale. I was wrong. It's Gibson scale. So Gibson scale, small size, upside down Jazzmaster body. Just Invader pickups, Strat trem, 3-side headstock, Badger on headstock, rocking. Loving it. So if anyone's got anything to talk about, I don't know if I've really got any particular plans. Shout me up with a question or something. I decided I was going to try and have not Japanese guitars on that bit of wall today. So I've got an Eastwood, the Trade Tuesday one, which is up for sale right now. It's still broad daylight, kind of looking out onto the street. I might actually, if people think there's a weirdo with a guitar talking to himself more than they normally think. Yeah, and I've got the Line 6 Variacs, which I need to dig into. Someone the other day was asking me if I could put it into another guitar, like the Variacs bit from one of these. And it's like, I just don't know how much. Yes, I could do it, but it's a heck of a lot of work. I think I need to have a proper look at that, because my first thoughts on it were, right, I could basically, rip all the gubbins out, put a normal bridge on it, a couple of P90s, sell it as a guitar on its own, and then get the gubbins and put them inside a Telecaster or something like that. But I actually really like that guitar. It's pretty good, which is really weird, because the one I had one maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and it was the Variac 600, which is a Korean and supposedly a much better guitar, but it didn't. And I set it up and stuff, but that one just seems nicer. It's light, and I don't know. I prefer the 300 to the 500. It could be a year-on-year thing. Maybe that one's 5 years older or 5 years newer than the 500 I had was. But it's good fun. I also found out somebody, Jimmy Dev, not the Jimmy Dev that's talking on here, the one who runs the local Facebook buy and sell page, or one of the admins on that, saying that you can download patches for it. If you plug it into the computer and it uploads all the sounds on it to make them better. And it's like, right. I'm wondering if maybe that one has had that upload thing, because these things are probably 10 years old, so the update might be 5 years old. So I think that one maybe has been updated, whereas the 500 that had maybe hadn't. I don't know. I need to plug it into the computer and try and work it out. I'm sure there's a program that you can get where it kind of shows you like a graphic of the guitar, and then it shows you like a pickup, and you can move the pickup about, like a picture of the pickup, and spin it around and do all these things and put whatever pickups you're in, and then like see what it sounds like, and then program that in so the computer does it. I don't know, it sounds awfully confusing. I think the Variacs, it's one of those things that I really want to give it a go and see if I can see past my preconceptions of what a modelled guitar is. Obviously things like the 12-string guitar, the acoustics, the banjo and the sitar and stuff like that, I don't really have any reference point for that. That's the most I've got. But you're in the sort of Strat sounds. It's like I do have a Strat or a Les Paul, I do have a Les Paul or a Tele, I do have a Tele, so it's like I don't know how well it creeps in. Hey Electric Cape Fan, Steve Murray, how's it going? We're talking Badger. I was thinking on a side note, when I realised I was getting this as a trade before I'd actually seen the guitar, I was thinking I was going to do it up, soup it up a little bit. I was going to call it Honey Badger, because if you don't know what Honey Badger is, this is according to Jeremy Clarkson and Top Gear. They're one of the most ferocious animals in the universe. Like, when we think of a badger, we think of a badger looking like that. A sort of relatively smelly, and you probably don't want to touch it because it might bite you sort of thing, but not a vicious, horrible beast. Whereas a honey badger apparently is just a massive teeth and fur, and it basically goes for your genitals. That's what it attacks. So in some ways it's better to get attacked by a lion, because at least it goes for your neck rather than biting you where it's sore. But I couldn't really find any way of upgrading this, and there wasn't really anything. It boils down to, it's like, oh, do you put like a third pickup in, like, so it's 3 humbuckers? It's like, or do I, not really. I just didn't. It's a well designed thing, and it's that thing I was saying, oh, that'd be smashing for a coil split, and it's already got one, so there really is no point in doing anything to Loads of fun. Yeah. So what was it? Someone said something about a wiring question. Where's my Bucky? And there was actually, I was also thinking, but I ran out of time. I've got a Hondo bass. in the attic, and I painted like a tiger. It's kind of orange and brimy stripes, and I got the cheap bass strings the other day, so I was going to give them a test, but I just ran out of time to do it. Tico, or no, they're not Tico, it's Zico. I really like their guitar strings, and they were really cheap, and I think these bass strings were like £4 a pack, and it's like, how bad could they be? The packet's actually a bit cheapy looking. Tico, please rive. Yeah, so you've got to please rive the label directly. That's what it's got. So you got, maybe you've got to rive the label. It's not focusing on it. Anyway, so I was going to put them on the Hondo because there's probably quite a lot of talking can be done about Hondos. I used to be mad into it. The first of the sort of, when I realised you didn't have to spend a lot of money to get a good guitar, was a Hondo that I got. It was a Prince type scratch plate, so like a tiger, leopard skin scratch plate, blonde Telecaster, had a pointy headstock. It was in cash converters, and it was like, I think it was 30 quid. And I had my Schecter telly, and I was like, I toyed with it. It was like 20 quid I would definitely bought it, 40 quid I wouldn't have bought it, it was 30 quid. And eventually I bought it, and then I realised that it was actually like a proper, like a real guitar, like totally an equal with any Epiphone, any Squire, just because it's made in the same factory, pretty much. It's a Samick. And so that was where not just Hondos, that's where I realised that, hold on, up until that point, which I still think a lot of people do think just now, is like, oh, you want to get a giggable guitar, you have to spend £500 and buy a base model Gibson or a top of the range Squire or a top of the range Epiphone. And it's like, no, you can get guitars that are that level from like the 90s that are for some reason undesirable and nobody knows what they are. And that's what the Hondo came from. Never noticed with the Hondos or the Gibson copies, the headstocks look like Bart Simpson's head. I haven't noticed that. I don't actually have any Gibson copies. I do have I've only got one Hondo left, but I must have had 6 or 7 at one point, and a 12-string Strat. It was a Fame series, and it was really cool. It was just a 12-string electric. It was really useful for recording because I kept using it for rhythm guitar all the time, but never really played it on its own. And because it's got really thin, obviously it's got normal strings and then it's got like octave strings that are really thin, they went rusty dead quickly. So if you didn't use it for a couple of months, it kind of went rusty, and then because the strings were so thin, and then the strings were like a tenner. So I kind of lost interest in that. Sold it. I had a Fame Stratocaster. These were all Korean Samick built ones. If you look at the headstock of the Gibson, it has one groove in the middle, but the copies of 3. All right, I think I know what you mean, like the mustache thing. So instead of going, it goes. Possibly, I think I do know what you mean. Most of the all the Les Pauls and stuff are Korean, and they all, if you look them up on eBay, they all say they're Japanese, even though they're not, and they all say they've got DiMarzio pickups, even though they were available with DiMarzio pickups. Very few of them were, because I think they were like 1.5 times the price if you wanted the DiMarzios in them. They were called, if it was all the Hondo guitars are an H something, so it's like an H1000D has DiMarzios in it, and H1000 doesn't have DiMarzios in it. Let's get copies of them. They're good. What guitars have you got for sale and what prices? Just now, really, the only guitar I've got for sale is the wee Jim Deacon. Really, I sold the Sakai yesterday. I got an awful lot more money. Anything with a flame maple back? Not for sale, but I do have something with a flame maple back. I've got an Aria Urchin. And if you've never seen one of them, then what a shape it is. It's like, it's a BC Rich, but BC Rich never made it. It's kind of like big, and it's got like the most amazing flame maple top on. It's kind of green, but it's so 3D. It's pure insane. It kind of, I've tried taking photos of it, but you don't really see it. But see, it kind of, see when you're out in a boat, if you've never really out in a boat and you look, when you're out on like a sandy beach and you're in about 6 feet of water and you look down, you can see the sort of the weight, the the patterns that kind of look like waves in the sand through the water, that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like when you take a photo, it looks like the knobs are sitting on top of water, which is, 4 inches deep with these rivulets in below it. And it's got a flame maple back on it as well. I don't know what they were thinking. H732LR. I don't know what the LR, that'd be a left-handed one. Don't know. 732 is the more expensive Stratocaster, if I'm right. I think the H76 is the one that you always see. And then there's an H760, which is kind of like a more upmarket guitar. Basically, what we would get now is like a classic vibe or something like that. Basically, we're talking about Lux Red. Yeah. Sounds good. Oh, Craig, that hunt, the vulture. Yeah, that was I took all day. That was this turtle wax stuff which I found in the garage. What a job that did. I have got so many guitars that aren't as scratched as that, but I think just giving it a quick once over on sort of these would just make them go whoa and be super clean. Was really boring. No, I don't know if it was boring doing it. It was kind of, you just got used to it. I think I sat and watched, what was I watching? On my great Star Trek quest, I'm now on to Enterprise, which I have seen all of before, like when it was on TV. Since this lockdown started, I can't remember whether I watched the entire original series of Star Trek. I might have. It was kind of a bit bitty. It's like I've seen most of the episodes, but always one at a time. It was never on TV the same time every week, so I never actually got to see it when I was a kid. And I've since worked my way through, at the start of the lockdown, like in the first 2 weeks, I watched The Next Generation, Woomph, and then I watched Deep Space Nine, and then maybe at the end of last year I watched Voyager, and then now I'm on to Enterprise. I keep losing concentration, not really watching it, and end up doing something, and come back half an hour later and it's still running. It's like, oh, missed that one now. Yeah. The last Enterprise episode is shit. Yes, I do remember it being that way. Yeah, I need to get my this is going to sound incredibly geeky. Have you ever heard of Babylon 5? I bought a Babylon 5 box set of all of it, and I lent it to my brother and never got it back. It was fantastic. It was much better than any of the Star Treks, pretty much. And yes, the last episode's that one where it's like, is it not like Riker and it's like an hologram program thing of Enterprise or something? But I don't know well enough to know it was called BB5. There you go. It's not just B5. When my missus works out, you've got the kids to watch all seasons of Blake 7. My mum was always a Blake 7 fan. I do remember seeing it on TV. I remember the episodes live on TV where there's a robot that his head comes off, and it's like a really badly done thing because obviously they don't have CGI to take the head off, so the shoulders of this person are just here. So it's kind of really strange looking. That's like maybe about the third last episode or something like that. And then my uncle used to buy the videos when they first came out, and then when they came out every month or something, I usually lived in London, used to send up the videos to my mum and we would watch them. So basically when I was, I don't know what, 15, 16, something like that, by that point I had the entirety of Blake 7 on VHS, 2 episodes per video, and Blake 7 is the best of all of them. Avon could kick anyone's ass. He totally could. It's kind of like a wee bit Avon this one when there's like metal spikes and stuff. A real sort of Rob Halford thing going on about it. No, some of the episodes of Blake 7 are just fantastic. There were a couple that the special effects were so bad it kind of put you off a little bit. I wonder if you could play the Thunderstruck riff. I can play it badly, yes. Yeah, I think I got a message. I was got Kenneth. I was thinking of buying a Westfield Strat. What are your thoughts? If the neck's not twisted, then it's a good guitar. I've had a few Westfield Strats, and they're good. Yeah, they're fine. It's not like that Westwood one I had where it's not a real guitar. A Westfield guitar is a real guitar. It's fine. They don't normally get a black scratch plate. The only thing I'm saying that about the twisted neck is I have had 2 through my hands that have had a twisted neck. But if the neck's not twisted by now, it's not going to twist in the future, I think. because of where we are here, the Westfield were imported from East Kilbride, so I think maybe any rejects or factory seconds maybe are circulating round about here, and I think maybe that's what these twisted neck ones were. Very good. Servalan. Yes. Remember Servalan? Oh, an Ibanez Roadstar 2 bass. Well, I've got a Roadstar 2. It's the guitar. That's when I got asked in the first episode, like, what are your favourite guitars? It's got a special place, the Roadster, because it's got an amazing finish on it. It's kind of flame maple in the middle, stained dark green, and then white around the outside. So it kind of looks like the Fender Antigua finish. And this reminds an RG 530 BP for Black Pearl. And it's got a couple of interesting things, but it was the first ever Ibanez to have an actual Floyd Rose on it. Because up until that point, they had their own Pro Rocker thing, which people don't like. I've never actually played one, though. And it's also the first ever Ibanez RG. So it is a Roadster 2 series, like it says on the headstock, but it's an RG, not an RS. So this is 1986. And in 1987, the RG was the Steve Vai, what we now know as an RG. So there was a year of RGs looking like RSs. RG stands for Roadster Guitar. So it's got a few things that are really cool about it. The other cool thing is... I bought it off the bass player in My Dying Bride, who's a big scary looking vampire woman, just on eBay. But, she said she was in the studio. I was like, oh, you're in the band? She's like, yeah, we're called My Dying Bride. And I looked her up, and she's a big, terrifying looking vampire woman. So that's why, and her name's Lena something. That's why I named the guitar Lena. One of the few guitars I've got that's got a name. And the last thing is, it's the guitar that Gary Moore used to record out in the fields, out in the streets, out in the fields. Out in the fields, the fighting has begun. That's the guitar he used to record it, because I saw in an interview somewhere, he was talking about it. It was a brand new Ibanez, and he was asked what kind of pickups it had. He said they look like EMGs, but they're just Ibanez own brands. So that's like the guitar, the 530 is the one he used for that. So it's, yeah. The other guitar he's got, the one he famously uses, the Peter Green one, it's like that's worth a little bit more than the Roadster. Westfield Les Paul. I don't see Westfield had a fair whack of the Strats are always cheap, or you often see the Strats cheap, there's so many of them. But I had a Flying V that was really good, and I've also there's a PRS Custom 24, and I think, to be honest, there's almost everything. I remember almost buying a Jaguar, no, a Thunderbird. They did a Thunderbird as well, but I was kind of put off with the Thunderbird because it was like 200 quid, and it's like, I just don't think you can pick up a Thunderbird for like 60 quid like you can pick up a cheap Strat of any type. No, Westfield, we're all right. They're gone now. Went down. Roadster was in Back to the Future. You're quite right. Yes, that was the RS 440, I think. So that would be when it had the Pro Rocker. I think I seem to remember Marty McFly's guitar was all black as well. But yes, I would, and not really answer, but to go to your question, yes, I would like to have the bass and guitar set. So an Ibanez, either a Blazer bass, which I've just moved, the Blazer isn't on the wall anymore, or the Roadstar bass would both be quite nice because it would go with either one of them. I've kind of got into this thing where I'm now that I've noticed I've been doing it, I've been buying like sets. So we've got the Laser and the Laser bass and guitar, and I've got the SG and EBO and the Epiphone SG and the Epiphone EBO. And I quite like that. So I've got two rock device bass and rock device guitar, all these things. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Westfield Les Paul and bolt-on. The thing I think about bolt-ons is generally if it's the more expensive guitars tend to be bolt-on, but that doesn't mean that the bolt-on's actually any better than that tend to be set neck. I don't think the set neck's any better sound-wise, but generally if someone's bothered putting a set neck on it, it's a more expensive guitar, so it might be better built, if that makes any sense. And the School Edition was, I was just about to say, and did you know that Huey Lewis was the judge who said they were too loud? Yes, I did. I was aware of that. Pick up a PV Raptor Plus. Quality Talks. Yes, I did. I think that Raptor Plus. I definitely had a Raptor of some sort. The one that I turned into a puke caster. When I was trying to do the dip finished, It didn't work. It didn't do the swirly thing and look like the Ibanez like it meant to do. It just kind of looked like, I don't know, like some sort of crazy psychedelic painting by Van Gogh or something like that. So, I mean, it didn't fail. It failed exactly what it was trying to do, but I thought it was pretty good. No, PB Raptors are good guitars. Good name. I'm just going to check up a little bit, see if make sure I've not mixed anything. Oh, come on. Where's my arrow? Right. I just saw something there about wiring that I've missed. Skip one out. Where's that now? Hi, sorry, 18 Rosebud Bass. Thanks for your input. I don't know what it was inputted, but cool. This one's I've got to put the Iron Gear Blues drivers pickups. What pre-made wiring, can't get to work. Not sure if it's a ground. All I get is buzzing. If you don't have if you've got a pre-made wiring harness, I take it you've still got to join the pickups to the switch and into the harness. I'm not really sure exactly how it goes, but it's possible you put the output jack on backwards. That kind of creates horrendous buzzing if you touch the strings. It's like touching the end of the string. That's what happens if you put the outputs on backwards. And there should be an earth wire, but it would still work if you didn't have the earth wire that goes to the bridge connected. It would just be really noisy, but it would still work. It would just have tons of buzz in it. Does the buzzing go away when you touch the strings or when you touch the bridge? Because if it doesn't, then there's no earth wire in there, so you need to put one in. It's not that difficult to do, just any old wire. You have to pull out the bridge posts. You would use a claw hammer. Honestly, use a claw hammer. Take it out, stick a wire through the hole, just have it suction, then hammer it back in again, and then you've got the extra wire, stick it onto the back of the pot, and that should be it. It should be. There's not that much. You might have missed something out. There's not that much in a guitar circuit. There's a wee bit more if it's a Les Paul, I suppose, because you get 2 volumes and 2 controls. So the pickups have to go to the volume controls, and then they go to the switch, and then they go from the switch to the output. Whereas if you've only got one volume control, like this one, for example, the pickups go to the switch, and then the switch goes to the volume control. Yeah. So you want, I don't know if that made any sense at all. Hey, Memphis. How's Elvis doing? Experience those 60s Tesco numbers. My pal Ivor has a Tesco bass, which looks kind of like that wee Sakai thing I had. The problem with them when you get the Tesco series is so many things are said to be Tesco's. Or I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce it. We've got a supermarket called Tesco. It's not a Tesco or something. But so many guitars kind of look similar to a Tesco, but they're much cheaper. I think that wee Sakai that I sold, which was actually kind of not actually dissimilar to this shape, it was like an upside down Strat. It was a significantly cheaper design guitar. It was quite thin, but it did definitely have a sort of design element that was quite similar to Tesco's. My pal, so I thought a Tesco was like, we used to get them. I had a guitar years ago called an Edition, which used to be able to buy in Woolworths, and it was awful. It looks pure cool, but it was awful. So I think Tesco's are are maybe twice the price of all the ones that kind of look like them. Because the bass my pal Ivor had actually played pretty well. I was really surprised. I think I had it for a video. Is that pure? I want to shop at Tesco. It's like pure, yeah. And then he brought it round, and it was like pure, yeah. And I was like, pure, actually, this is all right. There's an awful lot of really cheap ones. It seems to go when you touch the input lead. It's only a 2-knob 3-way switch. Right. Hey Wayne, how's it going? How's Mr. I don't want to be racist. How's the dude with the turban sitting across from you? I will. This drink's for you. Actually, what I found earlier was Magnum. I've still got that much of a bottle of Magnum sitting there, so I might drink that. Next time I see you, Wayne, I'm going to go on Amazon and buy some of these, and we're going to get tanned into them because these are super dangerous. These would be perfect for tanning one of these and then walking to the kebab shop while climbing lampposts and stuff. Perfect for that. Right. Oh, that is rather nice actually. I definitely need to buy some more of that. Right, hold on, I'm just checking up here. 62, it's going to put PV Raptor. Is that the same guy that just said something about why did you become a guitar player? That's quite a deep question. I quite like it though. I'll come back to that in a second. Probably a loose ground pot on pot or bad solder. Possibly could be, yes. I think the most likely thing is, I think it still might be, make sure you've not got the jack socket round the wrong way. So the bit with the lever on it inside the jack socket, that is the hot from the pickup. So that should be coming from the like one of the lugs on the volume control, whereas the other one, the ring bit, should just be going to the back of the pot somewhere. And if they're the other way around, you might find that's the difference. Yeah, probably loose ground order. Can you recommend any grippy plex? Well, I don't know. I mean, I bought these picks. These are Alice ones that I got from China, and it was something like £2.50 for like 100 of them or something like that. And I used to use 1mm picks, which are quite thick for the sort of bass and the guitar. And then I thought 100 for £2.50. That's great. You know what I mean? A couple of pence each, and I bought them. And they do say that they're 0.96mm, but they're actually much thinner and bendier than your Jim Dunlop ones. So basically, if you keep dropping it, I would just do what I do and just have, like, well, I've got a record player sitting there with some picks on it, and I've got some picks sitting on top of the amp. So if you are going to drop it, then just have another one that you can just go and pick it up. I did have one once that was it was kind of psychedelic looking. It was like neon pink and stuff, and it kind of looked like it was made of carpet underlay looks like the stuff that's made of recycled bottles, kind of patchy, sort of like an oil painting, kind of looked like that, and it was amazing. But I wore it out. So now I've just decided that rather than trying to keep, because whenever you get a favourite pick, you always lose it. So that's why I've just bought a big bag of them. I'm just thinking, nah, whatever. Yeah. Catch up. I still like the why did I become a guitar player thing. I don't know about grippy plex. These ones have got like a textured writing on them. Basically, they're just copies of the Jim Dunlop nylon ones. I like them, and I don't generally tend to drop them. Maybe if you keep dropping it, you're not holding the pick right. Are you holding it like that? Because that's makes a huge difference. So I'd say I'm holding it, and it's going 90 degrees to my thumb. Like, not like that. It's like that. That's, and also one of the main tips of guitar playing is called alternate picking. So rather than going all the way down, go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. You do really fast into that video. It's just that the up and down thing basically just doubles your speed. If you're just used to playing just with downstrokes. Probably looks good. I had the Facebook page send you pics. Yes, I send me some pics of the guitar. I'll have a look at it. I might not be able to tell by looking at the guitar. It might not be really obvious. I mean, it could be like I know it's brand new, but it could be like a bad pot or a bad switch or something like that. You know what I mean? Is the switch earthed? I don't know. And send me pictures on Mad Malco Guitars at Facebook. Yes, I could send you. Well, just you're not on. If you're there, if you want to email me, I'll just send you. Right, I'm going to put it on eBay. Malco@hotmail.co.uk. I kind of don't really want to put that in descriptions. Not that I think anyone was really going to stop me or send me in, or there's any bad thing for you having it. But so it's just Malco@hotmail.co.uk. Send me that, and I'll send you a t-shirt. I've got I've only got two sizes. I've got extra large, which is this one, and large, and orange writing, white writing, or green writing. But I'll have to look and see which ones I've got. But if you email me, I'll get back to you. And I'm just going to sell them for a tenner, which is kind of like including postage. So that's kind of just basically making up for the fact that the error, it doesn't say Mad Malco Guitars, it just says Mad Malco. Which is annoying, but I bought 20 t-shirts. They're actually quite good t-shirts, so I'm just quite happy wearing them. Quite enjoying being. I made a conscious decision about 5 years ago that I was going to stop wearing black t-shirts and start wearing bright colours to be a bit happier. And now I'm back on the black t-shirts again, so that's fine. I've got some gin lump with grips on it. I'm like, oh, cut a grip into a pick with a sharp knife. Yeah, you could do that. Or you could super glue a bit of sandpaper onto it or something. To be honest, I think if you're dropping the picks, you're probably not holding it right. It's hard to say. It's like, not when you actually think about it. You know, what you're doing is you're probably not. One of my pals does this with his hands. Sorry, he plays quite well, but everything comes from his wrist, so it's always dead loose, and that's kind of why he keeps dropping picks. Whereas if you're playing like, you know, your arms it's more that rather than this. You know, your wrist doesn't really do very much. Your wrist kind of just we're going between individual strings, but your whole arm seems to be fun. Did you get rid of your Variax? No, that's it there. I'm standing in front of it. It's on the wall, so remember to put strings on it and then actually give it a proper go. I want to make it work well. I really liked it. But yeah, you could try just scoring the top of the pick with a Stanley knife. Down to earth and informative. Yes, well, not down to earth. That'll do. What a rainbow album. It's more that it swivels round in my fingers. Again, my pal is. I'm pretty sure he's not watching it. Rab, I'm sure he would mind if he did. No, but he when he's not playing, he spins. He does this with the pick, and I think it's down to this. It's too limp. You've got to be more like that rather than like this. And I think you don't drop it if that's the case. I mean, I don't really drop picks anymore, and it's like I'm pretty sweaty and I do eat crisps. I just get used to it. Yeah, I've actually quite a lot, yeah. Hey, I didn't. Sorry, Albin. I didn't realise you'd gone. You're back. Well done. Do you have a PV Raptor Plus EXP? I've got a video for a PV Raptor Plus EXP, but I painted it up and sold it. I have so many guitars; it's pure ridiculous. So I'm trying not to buy any more for myself. But at some point in the last year, I started having a problem with anything that was from the early 80s in Japan because all my favourite guitars seem to come from. It doesn't really seem to matter which factory it is or what brand it is, but between like 1980 and 1984 from Japan, maybe 79 to 85 or maybe 78 to 86, in there just seems to be the best playing and best built guitars I've ever played, and I keep finding them. Things like that, that area there, that ends up, I was annoyed at paying too much for that and only paid 150 quid for it, and it's like it's got 150 pound pickup in it. It's kind of, I can't remember what the point was at the start there. Rick Parfitt used to get his tech to bang 4 holes with a nail in his picks to give him purchase. Yeah, well, you could try maybe just drilling holes in it rather than using a nail. Actually, the reason I went on to the nylon 1mm picks is because at a Status Quo concert, I bought 2 picks, like in a wee poly bag. They were just the usual Jim Dunlop black ones, apart from they were red. It was whatever the album was they were touring. The cover had like XS something. It had like 2 red picks on the photo of the album cover, so I bought 2 of those red picks. I really liked them, and that's why I started using 1mm, the nylon with the Jim Dunlop raised writing on them. And then the reason I've moved on to the lighter ones is because I bought the wrong bag and decided to end up liking them. Very similar things happened to me in the last month with strings. If you go back a couple of months, you'll see me anytime a guitar's got 9s on it, I'm complaining and going, I can't play this, it's got 9s on it, it's terrible. Now I'm used to 9s because Tony at Blitzkrieg forgot to order me in 10s, so I ended up taking a few boxes of 9s off him, putting them on the Bucky casters and stuff like that, and then started putting them on my guitars, and now I can totally deal with 9s. Not an issue. I put 9s on this. It's just instantly, it's the same as when I pick up a bass or a medium scale guitar or whatever, because I'm used to it, that's fine. You know, you just alter whatever it is, you bend by 10%, you don't bend things quite as much, and it's a wee bit lighter, and there's something to be said for it. It's good. My head was in the way. So I'm trying to say I've got a big head. Yes. A lot of effort picks, rounding them off from using them. Yeah, but that doesn't happen. What you do is you buy these Alice picks for like £2 for 100 or 50 or whatever it was, that were pure really cheap, and I've just got so many of them that every time I pick one up, it's a different one, so they all wear down evenly. At least that's the plan. Yeah, drop a like. I never ask for these things. You always see people. I say with the like and subscribe thing. I mean, it makes a huge difference to what. I think it makes it. I get more money for it. Basically, if I get likes and subscribes, I don't. It's like I don't subscribe to everything myself on YouTube. I do some things, but not that I'm saying you shouldn't subscribe to someone who's got 500,000 subs or something like that. If you really like it, just subscribe to it anyway. But someone like me has got like not even 2,000 yet. I think I'm actually coming up to 1,800. It makes a noticeable difference, and I go woo when I get a new sub. So you get a wee woo from me by something. A soldering masterclass. I could do that. I've been doing a little bit of I've actually did a guitar. I changed a pickup, which I don't think I actually put the video up for it yet. I kind of recorded lots of videos and didn't put them up, and now they're a couple of weeks old. So it gets annoying because I'm talking about things I might be getting in the future. Like, oh, if I'm looking at an area guitar, well, I've now got it, had it for a week, fixed it, and stuff like that. 2mm or more. 2mm is very thick. That's a super bass pick. I don't really know what a Discord server is. I looked it up one time because I think when actually you turn on the computer, or was it that computer? There's a wee Discord logo, but I never got past the opening bit, so I don't really know how to do it. If you could message me about what it is, it'd be smashing. But I'm kind of too much of a technophobe. That's kind of like why I'm not using the Line 6 Variacs. It's a bit hard on computers. The fact that this is working totally blew my mind. It's like, wow, it totally works. I don't really need to know anything to make it work. When it does, I mean, thankfully, touch wood, for the last couple of weeks, it's not cut out. It cut out a couple of times. It cuts out. I don't know what to do. Stop it and start again. It's like Skype but in drugs. Sounds good, I think. You ever play? Oh, I mean, is Discord like a live streamy, Skypey, sort of like this type thing? I've been told before, was it on TikTok? Is it TikTok? Twitch? I think it's Twitch. It's called something. There's one like that. Something that does that. People do video games on it, and maybe I should do that when I'm just wiring up a guitar. The thing about wiring up a guitar is it's like it should only take. There's 5 minutes of work in changing a pickup, but it takes an hour because the pickup doesn't quite fit, and you've got to extend the wire, and it's like there's always it just ends up taking that. So, but I've been doing these things. I'm kind of trying to let it run in real time, so you can. My thing is, if you're watching somebody, it's like, here's how you wire a guitar, and they show you them do it, and they do it in 4.5 minutes, and then you ever go, and you're half an hour into it, you've not even got halfway. You start thinking, oh, and it's like, no, it doesn't. He's edited it down to 5 minutes. It did take him an hour. Yeah. Have you ever played a Kramer Focus 112? That's I think I know what it is. That's the Music Yo one, isn't it? There was a time at the start of the internet, when I first got the internet, it wasn't my computer, it was the family PC downstairs, and Music Yo brought out Kramer's Steinbergers or something else, and they were producing a Focus, which looked very much like a Strat, and I think it was 4 for 200 quid, one for each colour. And I remember in my band saying, look at these, you can pick up a Kramer Strat for 50 quid if you buy 4 of them, one in each colour. To the other 3 guys in the band, does everyone want to chip in and buy one? And I think everyone said yes, but I can't remember why we didn't end up buying them. I don't know. I don't know who Andy Negative is. I'm afraid. Yeah, I think I missed one. Someone asked me why I started playing the guitar, and I've got a really bad reason for it. Something to I made on YouTube 6 months ago. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so I get asked why I started playing the guitar. It's because sorry, we're still talking about the Focus. Yes, pretty good. I think they're just Chinese Strat copies. I've got one neck, which is like that, twisted, which I picked up off my pal. Took it out of my pal's bin because the neck was twisted. So that one, even though I never saw the rest of the guitar, the neck was twisted, which is bad. So that's really my only knowledge of it. I do have a Kramer Focus, but my Kramer Focus is a Focus either 3000 or 2000, which is way older. It's like 1984 or something like that. Japanese, made by ESP apparently. But apart from it saying Focus on it, I don't think it's really got anything in common with the later on ones. Yeah, if I was a bit more savvy with the technology, I'd maybe go for a switch between maintenance, setup, jams. There probably is. It's kind of, I think, to be honest, is that not kind of the sort of thing you would see on Twitch is kind of what I'm doing here? It's like more low-key, not really any... you don't have to watch it. If you get bored, just turn it off, or you can go to the toilet or make a coffee and not really miss anything. That's kind of what I'm going for. Your camera wouldn't talk to you. Don't talk to me, but... that's the thing I can't stand with computers. See, when things work, it's totally fine. But see, when they don't, and you just spend hours just trying to do something stupid. But that's took me and my pal who helps me run this, he's much more computer savvy than me, spent all night one night trying to get the two webcams to work on the computer. And it was like, I could watch either one of them, no problem. I could see to do the picture-in-picture thing. And it's like, I could get either the main camera to show this one, but I just couldn't get them both to show at the same time. And then gave up, got annoyed, came back a month later, and it was just working. And actually, it was really infuriating because we spent so long adjusting all these things, trying to make both cameras come up at the same time, which I couldn't do. I could switch between the cameras, but I couldn't get them both playing. And then basically I turned it on, and it just did that. So I don't know, get really annoyed about it. Just doing stuff around about the house. Yeah, I suppose it's kind of like, I think what I was thinking about that is it reminds me of this is years ago. I used to watch back before there was lots of channels, maybe even before Freeview. I used to watch Tiny Team with Tony Robinson, Baldrick and Blackadder, and I'd be like, trying to find a Roman wall or something like that, and I'd be in some stately home trying to find an iron smelting works from 300 years ago. And one of them they did, it was Time Team Live, and it was just an all-day broadcast thing, and there was a bit where they were in below a tent thing, and it was like a guy in a trench, about a foot deep, scraping away, and a few folks sort of standing looking in the hole. And then occasionally, people would talk a little bit, and they would go away and come back, and someone else would come in. And it was just that whole, it was totally riveting. It was just watching somebody scraping stuff in the hole, and it's like, I don't think he actually found, you're just sitting there going like that, he's just going to go, ta-da, look, I found a Roman watch, or not a watch, but you just, the inability to just sit and watch somebody else working is quite enjoyable. Same with if you ever see it on a building site when someone's down a hole, there's always a couple of folk just watching, because it's infatuating just sitting there watching somebody else doing their job. Good fun, so I'm kind of doing that. Why did I start playing the guitar? I started playing the guitar going back to when did Nirvana Nevermind come out? And Nirvana was the end thing. That's when I decided it was cool. Started drinking with my pals and stuff like that. It was Nirvana, and I got a ticket to go and see Nirvana. And they all started playing the guitar, and they all, for what seemed like a year, they would play Stand By Me. Like that, and they all seemed to just play that one thing, and it was hideous to listen to, and I was just kind of like, I don't want to play the guitar, I don't want ever to sound like that. And then one time my pal Robert left me, he was over drinking, and he left his guitar overnight, and it was the Sunday morning I woke up, there's a guitar there. It was a Marlin Sidewinder. It had a wee BB Blaster amp that had distortion, and out the library had the Black Sabbath guitar book. And I looked at the Black Sabbath guitar book, and I saw these numbers, and I thought, is that maybe like, it's like, kind of looks like a fretboard, so is that like 5 and 7 I should play? And then, and then 30 seconds later I could play Paranoid. I might just change guitar because this was out of tune rather than tune it. But, so that was it. Basically, once I could play And the thing was that all my pals for 6 months had all been trying to play this John Lennon song or whatever it is that did it really, really badly. And at the first time I played Paranoid, it sounded like Paranoid. And then from then on, I was always going to be playing the guitar. So you had the hard bit to work out, then it was just... And I could play that pretty much immediately. That was me hooked. A couple of months later, or a couple of weeks later, I got my first Strat. There was something wrong down here. Basically, you couldn't play any notes up to about the 5th fret. So all I could play on it was Black Sabbath. And then when a couple of months later, I got a shot at someone else's guitar to try and play these really difficult... I don't play open chords. And I was like, oh no, hold on. They work on this guitar. I didn't realise my guitar was broken. So that's why I played so many power chords at the time. Fun. Never mind 91. It must have been maybe 92. What would that make? That maybe 14? Yeah. No. Must have been... I remember I was going to be playing bass in the band because my two pals had started playing guitar, and I think one of them played the drums. So you can play bass. I was like, yeah, no problem, no one play bass. And I didn't know what a bass was. I was like, what's a bass? I was like, genuinely, I didn't know what a bass guitar. It's a type of guitar, all right. And it's like, it's only got 4 strings, right? But I don't know. But this is before music really hit me in a big way. Music hit me in a big way with the Stones. Nirvana, and that was great. It was fine. I liked that. I liked sort of film soundtrack. But when I some covers you wouldn't get now. Never mind Houses of the Holy. Well, I don't know. You don't get albums anymore, do you? You never get the glorious gatefold record. You know, it's now got to be designed to be on a thumbnail. Never mind being on a, like on a CD cover. That was obviously album covers changed because instead of being on a 12-inch record, they had to be on a CD cover. Now they have to be in a wee stupid tiny thumbnail on iTunes or whatever. So you kind of just get a neon logo. I remember someone I saw reading the magazine in the blog the other day about AC/DC. People complaining about an AC/DC album cover. It might be their new album because it just basically just says AC/DC in yellow letters, and it's like that was the reason. It's so that it shows up in Spotify. You can see it on a pure micro thing, and it's like, oh, AC/DC, that's fine. So you can't really have album art anymore. Yeah. Alright, so Nirvana. I was meant to be in a band playing bass. Didn't know what a bass was, and maybe 2 years later was when my pal left me his guitar over. So I think I was 16. I think it was 16 when I started playing the guitar, like late on 16, so autumn when I was 16, and then by that Christmas, I bought a proper guitar, a Yamaha RGX, which I hated because it was a Floyd Rose. I had no idea what a Floyd Rose was. At the time, I didn't even realise there was a concert pitch for A. I thought you made the strings to the sort of tension that you liked, and then you tuned everything off one string. I didn't realise that you could actually, there was an A that everyone kind of recognises as an A. I thought you just put it to what you wanted to. So obviously my Floyd Rose was, sometimes it would be up like this, and sometimes it would be sunk away back into the body. Nightmare. Don't buy a Floyd Rose for your first guitar at all. But guitar got me there, Bob. I totally understand getting really angry with computers. I remember going back in the day, when you're looking at guitar and Elvis Presley's band, you're talking about James Burton's paisley coloured Telecaster. Fantastic. I totally want one of them. I had a lot of when I was in China buying the cheap, that was one of the things I thought. I was up here looking at Telecasters. They got the James Burton one, because I know that like a real one's 10 grand, and you can get like a Japanese one, which is meant to be pure amazing, but they're coming up to $1,000 now. And I thought a Chinese Chenzer one, I'm going to try and find that. And I looked at them, and they totally didn't get it right. It just looked nothing like. It was like kind of silver with like a sort of a really Barbie pink. It didn't look like James Burton's ones. A good story about that one. He was given it from this big. Maybe not everyone will know this, but so we said Blind Faith cover. I know the cover. Yes, I think it's Ginger Baker's Daughter. But there's one I saw. I was watching a thing yesterday on YouTube. Yesterday, the day before, about Scorpions album covers. I don't know if you've ever seen the cover for Virgin Killer. It's worse than the Blind Faith one. It's basically like a an 8-year-old girl naked and like tied up and like under a spotlight. It's like, it's well creepy. I don't know if it ever actually got properly released, but I mean, the album is called Virgin Killer, but it's like, it really is like, there is a line where just like, no, please not. Yeah, but I mean, Elvis Presley, if you're not into Elvis and you don't really understand why everyone says Elvis is amazing, watch a film called That's the Way It Is. And after 10 minutes, you'll go, all right, I understand. Because it's a bit, it starts off when he's kind of going into the studio to record, and he's wearing this most amazing shirt ever and the big sunglasses and all that. And he's just going in talking to the, going to the gatehouse into the studio. He's like, right, John, and he's just so cool. You're just immediately like, he's so cool. And he's like fooling about with in the studio, and then the music in it's absolutely fantastic. There's like Suspicious Minds, all that stuff. So Elvis is the king, and if you don't really understand it, we're not saying it's necessarily your type of music, but when you see Elvis doing that's the way it is thing, the Vegas thing, it's so much charisma and so worthy of the accolade he gets. It's like you can't, whether you like it or not, it's not really the question. You just go, yeah, I understand why it's huge, why he's huge, why everyone says he's the king. It's like, yeah. How much is this aria? I've not done a video for it yet because I'm waiting for a tremolo arm. As usual, whenever I say tremolo arm, I have to do that to describe what a tremolo arm is. I got it last Sunday, the Sunday before, on eBay. It started at £100. It went to half an hour to go, nobody bidding on it. 2 idiots started bidding on it. So I was sitting there with half an hour to go, going, no bids, £100, I'm getting this for 105. And then a couple of people sat there with half an hour to go, going, 102. Like 2 minutes later, 104, 106, 110, 112. You're just like, oh, come on. So eventually, I think they got up to about 140 or something like that. And then with 1 second to go, I was like 166. Bang, and I got it for 156. Plus post. But it does have one of the Ignenta. It's got an Ibanez V2 pickup, which are, well, I wanted to see what it was like, but I mean, that's it there. It's really good. I think it's basically just a DiMarzio Super Distortion copy, like a lot of guitars from the Japanese guitars from the 80s were. And I think actually for a while, DiMarzio were actually made by Gotoh officially. And then after like in the early 80s, and then DiMarzio started making them in America again. And then Gotoh didn't make them anymore. But they just spent a couple of years making DiMarzios. So the ones that they were making were copies of DiMarzios, but they just spent a couple of years making DiMarzios, so it's like they knew exactly how to make them. I think really the only difference you're talking about is instead of having imperial size Allen key bolts, it's got metric size Allen key bolts, and obviously it doesn't say DiMarzio Pickups USA on the back. Apart from that, I think they're pretty much the same pickup. Your Ibanez Super 70s, this kind of the same thing. Scotty Moore was the man behind Elvis's guitar, but I'm talking about from the white suit. That's the way it is. When the Telecaster was in, James Burton, Ronnie Tutt, Jerry Sheff, one of the best bass players ever who I've actually seen live. He played on LA Woman. In fact, I've actually seen him live. I saw Elvis 2000, which was most of his original band, the massive band with 4 guitarists, Ronnie Tutt and Jerry Sheff, and a video projection of Elvis playing in Glasgow. And then when I saw the Doors, I can't remember what were they called, Riders on the Storm, or the 20th Century Doors, or something like that. They're one of the most amazing gigs I've ever been to in my life. I'd seen them before, a couple of years before at the SECC, and it was kind of bland. And eventually I get talked into going with my pals to go and see them at the Armadillo. And we went in, and it's like the Armadillo, the stage set was like a 60s TV show. So you had a massive stage, and then you just had like a drum kit. You only had like a kick drum, a snare, 1 tom, and 2 cymbals sort of thing. And then the sort of Fender Rhodes organ thing with a wee Fender amp, and then like a wee bass amp, 1/2 the size of that, and then a wee, that was it. And the rest of the stage was just blank. So they just had this wee band playing in the middle, and we suddenly start going, it's quite interesting looking. And the singer, who was Ian Astbury from The Cult, had, I think he got sacked for being too much like Jim Morrison, but he was absolutely amazing. He turned up and he's just like going, yeah, he's wearing the leather trousers and he's got the curly hair and he's just like, pure, we're in Glasgow, buck fast, and you're just like, this is surreal. Having, like Krieger and Ray Manzarek on there, and you've got this guy who's like shouting about Bucky and all these things. And he was whether he was drunk or just acting drunk, but it was absolutely amazing. One of the best gigs I've ever been to, partly because I didn't expect it to be good, but wow. Did you international sign language? The tremolo arm, it's it's one of those things I can't say because the thing is, it's not a tremolo arm. Because tremolo is changing volume, isn't it? And that's not what that does. It's a pitch vibrato arm, but they called it tremolo arm. So just because it's one of those things that I know, especially it's also when you say coil taps. It's like, has this got coil taps? Yeah, it's got coil splits, not taps. Taps are a different thing, but you still call them taps. It's like trying to change and not get really annoyed about it. Yeah, Scotty Moore's the early Elvis stuff. I don't really know that much. I mean, I do remember seeing a programme, it was Billy Connolly talking about rock and roll, and it's like, you people don't understand what it was like. It's like before Elvis, because he remembers he was hanging about with his pals in school or something like that, and someone had turned up outside, like a really cool guy with his gorgeous girlfriend inside, and it was like a wee two-seater sports car convertible, and they were all, him and his school pals, like, oh, look at this pretty amazing car, and it had the AM radio on, and then the radio was on, and it went, oh, since my baby left me, didn't. And he was just like, didn't? What the? Because no one had ever gone, didn't, before. And it's like, you don't even think about these things. You didn't get that aggressiveness. You don't, I mean, I didn't hear, it was a Heartbreak Hotel, whatever it is, I didn't hear it as being heavy, but before that, that thing didn't exist. And for Billy Connolly, that was him. He says, up here from then on, it was like, the whole world changed because nothing had ever gone didn't before like that. Quite funny. Nice. That a 2-pot and a 3-way. Yeah. Basically the same as the Badger. Volume, tone, and the tone is a coil splitter. The two of them. It's basically just, I don't really know what design you would call it. It's sort of like a Strat, maybe a little bit pointier. It's a very subdued guitar. It's one of those ones that, if it had been neon, I don't know. I really like it. Some guitars you just play, it's got a really wide neck. Really, like there's a 3-piece. Now this is a Matsumoto guitar, so it's like, they are amazing. I don't know about international sign language. All right, international for the phone. You mean? Yes, I do. I've got you now. Have you ever owned a Marshall guitar amp? Not a main amp, no, because when I was my 18th birthday, I bought the Softtech Mig 60, which is basically like a hand-wired version of a JCM 800. So I've never had to buy any other amp ever because that's the best amp in the universe. I do obviously have this Marshall amp and this Marshall amp, but not guitar amps. But back in the day, 20 years ago, when the bedroom practice guitarist amp person had like a 10-watt or a 20-watt solid state amp, the Marshall ones sound miles better than all the other ones. I had one. I had I think it was 12-watt, an MG something, and it was great. It was a fantastic. It had like 2 gains, so it's like a low end gain and a high end gain, and you put them both on. It was like that did some really good stuff, and it was really cheap. Be really cheap now. Can't Help Falling in Love. Yes, that's from that era. That's from the 70s era. But I mean, it's basically the live in Madison Square Garden 70, 72 is just unbelievable. I was a little bit disappointed in that album when I found out the reason at the drumming, because it starts off with Fortunate Son, no, not Proud Mary. And it's got total cradle of filth drums out. Like, I couldn't, how the hell, doing that in 1970? That's unbelievable. It's unbelievably good drumming. And then I found out years later the reason he can't play along with that record either is the Colonel had worked out that the more songs you put on the record, the more publishing rights you get for covering different songs. So he basically just, right, we've got 6 songs on this side coming in at 20 minutes. Like, if we speed the tape up, we can get an extra song on. So basically that's why it's pure ridiculous. Madison Square Garden 72 is because the actual master tapes were sped up so that you could get an extra track on each side of the album. Therefore, you end up with Fortunate Son having drums that are almost inhumanly fast. Basically, you're talking about, Dragon Force or something, but it's Elvis. Fantastic. Scotty Moore's found because he was the inventor of fuzz by loosening one of his tubes. Any rocks, Billy? I tell you, you're talking about rockabilly. Don't really know much about rockabilly. Yeah, White Lightning. White Lightning's a cider. Is that a song as well? I don't know much about the early Elvis really. I did see a program. It was Paul McCartney playing his bass. The bass that I don't. It's not obviously Scotty Moore was a guitarist, but there's like, when they were originally recording songs, but the first few songs it literally was a mic, and then the drummer just sitting behind it, and then the bass player, and if he wanted to, Elvis would kind of stand. It was just one mic picking up the whole thing. Amazing stuff. Have you tried Black Star amps? I'm not. I would like to try the HT series, the Valve ones, to see what they're like. I do have a Black Star Fly, which is awesome for only being this size and running on batteries. I mean, it's like totally miles ahead. Yeah, and I've also got, which I'm actually going to give to my girlfriend, just messaged me there, who should be watching my live stream, actually. Yeah. Yeah, an ID Core 20, which is kind of like the wee Black Star Fly, but it's, it's like the 10 watt or the 15 watt equivalent, and it sounds miles bigger than what it is. Same as the wee one sounds miles bigger than it is. It's just like, technology is amazing in those amps. It's so far, I'm trying to sell a couple of amps just now, actually, just wee 10 watt practice amps, and I can't honestly recommend you buy them, because you just buy one of those Black Stars and it sounds so much better. It's also got some sort of sonic surround sound trickery going on about it. I think it's because it's stereo, it can fool you into thinking it's doing more than it is. So if you look at the amp, it's smaller than that, but you look at the amp and the reverb comes from here. When you look at it, it doesn't come from the speaker that you're looking at. When you look at it, you hear it coming from elsewhere. It's kind of spooky, hard to describe. Yeah, I'm getting caught up now a little bit. The valve states are good. I didn't realise valve states actually have a valve in them. Who knew? Turns out that's a base state, so it's kind of valve state. You can tell that because it's got a blend knob, which is all solid state or all valve, or anything in the middle. We just put the valve because it's cooler, obviously, isn't it? 2000 ABT. I think I just sold a pedal for a 2000 ABT. They suffer a little bit from me for having too many knobs. Is the ABT not the one that's got like 2 rows of knobs and 4 channels and all that? And it's like, can I just have gain, master, and EQ? I think I don't really want anything else. It just gets confusing. Hold on, I'm getting a wee bit behind now. So, early drinking here in Los Angeles. Yeah! Drinking all over the world, just blame me. That'd be great. I did Scotty Moore's adventure of fuzz by loosening one of his tubes. I thought fuzz was invented by some country guy who had a broken channel on the mixing desk when he recorded the song, and then they heard it and it came back like fuzz, and then he made it into a pedal. Not really sure about it. Can you interchange a left-handed bridge for a right-handed without modifications on a Strat? Not without modifications, I don't think. No. I think you might have a wee bit of a gap here. I need to actually look to actually have a Strat bridge sitting there. I do. More than one. Yeah, see if you look at it there. On this side, you can see it runs straight down in line with the saddle. But on this side, it sticks, the block sticks out. So the saddle comes to here, then it sticks out this much. So you're going to have a hole that you're not covering here, because that's where that would go. And then you're going to have to expand the hole to take it on that side. It depends how pro you want it to look. If you don't mind dremeling away at it or chipping away at it, and you don't mind it looking a little bit junky, yeah, totally, not a problem. You try to do a Stevie Ray Vaughan, I take it, or was it Stevie Ray Vaughan did it? He had because Hendrix's tremolo arm obviously came from the top. He had because he was playing a right-handed guitar upside down, so you can argue about that. Yes, I'm going to get a wee bit behind again. Hold on, I'll catch up. Too much drinking, not enough. Looks like get condition. Oh, sorry, we're talking about this guitar. Yeah, I'll do a video for this guitar once I get my thingy. It's not in, well, it's in used but looked after condition. What you get a lot, but this type of guitar wasn't particularly cheap when it was new. So although it's cheap now, the chances are it's been looked after. You often get that if you buy a guitar that, regardless of how good it was, if it was a beginner's level guitar, it tends to have more bashes in it because somebody's not used to having a guitar. So, it's like yourself. The first couple of weeks you had a guitar, you'd pick it up and you'd hit it off the wall and you'd smash it off the door and you'd drop it and you'd bash into things all the time. And also you would be playing these chords, holding the strings down as hard as you physically can, because you have to when you're starting it. And then you would obviously never change the strings either, so these would be rusty strings, and you're clamping down, playing the chords as hard as you can, and then playing with rusty old strings, and it wears away these frets on a beginner guitar. Whereas if you're talking about a guitar that's kind of mid-price, something like this would probably have been about 300 odd quid in 1985. So it would be quite an expensive thing. You could get a guitar for 100 quid, so it's like pretty good. Generally tends to have been looked after a little bit more. It's assuming it's survived my era, because in my era, like the mid-90s, this sort of thing was worth nothing, because it's not really a hair metal. Super Strats, there were people who like Super Strats, but stuff like this was just way out. People wanted Stratocasters, Telecasters, Les Paul, nothing else, just cool ones, I'm not sure. I went back about it. Blackstar amps. You want a Line 6 stuff? I nearly bought a Line 6 amp yesterday. Someone gave me one, my pal Buster, got a guitar channel, you should check out a bass channel. He gave me one of the knobs was burst, and I thought I could replace the knob, and it turns out I couldn't. But I managed to make a 1x12 speaker cabinet out of the box. And yesterday I saw in Cumbernauld, someone was selling, some woman, not being sexist, was selling Line 6 amp. One of the knobs is broken, 20 quid. And the photo had a head, a 4x12 cabinet, a big massive foot controller, and a Zoom controller for 20 quid. And I phoned up about it, but never got a reply. I did actually phone, never got a reply. So, because I think I could probably have used the knob that was broken and stolen it out the Line 6 I've got sitting through there. I do actually have a small Line 6 called a micro something, which runs on batteries. And it's for what it's just like, it looked just, I don't know, I think it's maybe 5 watt, something like that. But this thing is just like having all these different sounds just in like a wee tiny amp. It sounds amazing for what it is. Kids these days just have it so well with cheap tiny amps. You can so much better than what we used to get years ago. The Colonel was never in the army and worked in a circus, went to America. And yes, he was a very dodgy man. That was why Elvis never did world tours, because the Colonel was worried he couldn't go international because he'd done something dodgy. So Elvis never got to play. That's why he spent the last 10 years or whatever it was in Las Vegas. He couldn't really do tours because the Colonel was an absolute bastard by all accounts, and evil. Fever drinking in Aberdeenshire as well. That'll be Aberdeen, Scotland. Yeah, it's like Sunday night drinking. I'm kind of used to it. I was drinking last night And it's like my pal conned me into it, contact me in Skype, and it's like, and it was like, this is like 5 o'clock, I hadn't even had my dinner. Drinking time. And I was like, and then so I started. So I've been basically hungover, sleeping in bed all day today, not done absolutely nothing of any interest. I'm getting behind. Selling amps. Amps are so difficult to sell. I don't know what to do with them, especially the wee 10 watt ones. And it's like, I'm a crap salesman, so I can't. The thing is, I'm sitting there and it's like, if you don't have an amp, one of the wee 10 watt things, I mean, they're fine, they're great, you can get a good sound out of them. Yeah, totally, but it's like, if I sell you it for a tenner, that's a good buy. If you don't have an amp, fantastic. But if you sell it for any more than that, you start thinking, well, can you get, how much did it cost you for an Ibanez, a Blackstar ID core, which is miles better? I don't know. Blackstar was set, I believe Blackstar was set up in ex-Marshall staff, yeah. Hey Andrew, I thought you joined earlier on, but now you're talking about Sustainiacs. Where are we going? Yay, Civet! You beat me a minute ago. I had to turn the volume down. I wondered why you weren't on. Love you. Dremel projects. Dremel's fun. I don't know what it is. If you use the proper parts for a Dremel, the part I use is do I have it? I have one sitting there. Like for doing, I kind of use it for all this sort of routing. I don't see the packet. There's a bit I use for metal there, that thing, which is meant to be used for metal, and you can use it for metal, but that is the bit. That just does anything. I just need to, I wish I could buy a packet of just them. The only way I can get them cheap is to buy like a 3-pack from China, which gives you that one, which is the one you use, a sort of triangular one, which is completely useless, and a sort of thin one, which is completely useless. I just wish I could buy a box of that one. If you buy the actual Dremel ones, it's like 12 quid for 2. I use that for, it's great for just sorting out pick guards, making scratch plates fit. A wee bit of routing here and there, you can kind of burn yourself away to get, I wouldn't go trying to route out an entire pickup with it, but just extending things, it's a fantastic thing. Yeah. I said fuzz, yes. Got another fuzz the other day actually, the Bucky Fuzz. Loads of knobs in the yes, totally. Yeah, the AVTs. There's a I don't know, but the thing is, if it sounds all right, just when you plug it in and it sounds great, that's fine. But I'm against it because I was going to say a couple of times ago in the studio, so probably like a year ago, I was running the Softtech and it cut out. And I was like, oh no. What did I do? I think it turned out it must have been one of my leads or something like that, because I tried taking it out and I tried to use it in the studio. You've got Valve JCM 2000s, which are, I think the JCM 800 was for the 80s and 900 was for the 90s, and the 2000 was for the 2000s. And this thing had 2 rows of knobs, and I could not make it sound acceptable. And this is an expensive amp. And it was just like sitting here, I was like, just by ages, like trying to change channel, just trying to get a sound I can use. I'm not that fussy. I just kind of want whatever it's set to just now. I don't think there's any pedals on. Just soft pedals on. That's fine. Right, let's go. And it was just, I just couldn't get it to sound decent no matter what I did. So I'm kind of against lots of knobs. But I mean, I don't know. People drinking, I'm causing people to drink in Wales as well. Wales, yeah, totally. I'm going to be doing a guitar at some point soon for the bass player in Cranking House, because he's Welsh, and instead of having it's going to have a Welsh flag as the body. He gave me his Epiphone SG to do it to at one point, but I think I might just build him a bass and then just paint it like a Welsh flag with it. It's a bit harder to do. Obviously, the Saltaire is quite easy. You paint it white, you put a cross on it, you paint it blue, whereas physically actually having to draw a dragon, I'm going to be a bit harder, but I'm going to do that. I think I might put a Saltaire in the back because he lives in Scotland. But on the Wales, on your side, man. Fuzz. Yeah, I do need to have a shot of Fuzz Factory at some point. But yes, and I'm going to. I mentioned you earlier on, actually. Your ears were obviously burning, talking about the sustainer thing. Was it somebody talking about a sustainer? I can't remember, but I thought somebody said you're not Andrew. The trem placement. To be honest, I've never tried it. Although I do. I think the Washburn Wonder Bar, which is a tremolo system I've got on my BC Rich. Ooh, sorry, it wasn't a Frankie Howard BC Rich. I was just thinking. One of the things I hate about my BC Rich Wave is I fell out with one of my pals about it because the bastard painted it, even though he'd said to me before, "Oh, you want to paint it?" I was like, "It's the best colour in the world." It did have lots of chips and stuff in it. It's like, "You want to paint it? You want to paint it?" I was like, "No way. Look, it's the best colour in the world. You can't put it. Amazing." And a couple of weeks later, "Can I borrow your wave so I can draw around it and make one?" "No bother. There you go." And then I went back and it was like sat in the corner and he bastard painted it beige. It looked hideous. He hadn't even taken the controls off. He'd kind of put tape on the knobs, so it was like kind of there was square boxes. It was like, I was absolutely raging, and I came back and scraped off all the crappy beige paint, and then never really got it back to being shiny enough. But now, since what I just managed to do with that Vulture bass, I'm going to do that with this. But the reason I'm talking about that is because it's got a Wonder Bar tremolo in it, and the Wonder Bar is like kind of like a top mount Caller, but it's got a hole here for your tremolo arm, and it's got one here for left-handed, so I could try it over to see what it was actually like. Dremel is fun, yeah. I had a shot, talking about the sustainer, I had a shot with my pal Alex, who's sometimes on here, he paid nothing for it. I think he paid 60 quid, something pure stupid, for a Rally Explorer, gold bound Explorer that had an actual Fernandez sustainer in it that wasn't working, and I managed to make it work. And the thing was wonderful. I mean, I owned an Ebo for a while, which is sort of the same sort of thing, but hideously difficult and unsatisfying to play. You just sit there and it's like it's so much work. The sustainer is just all right. So you just hit a note and then press the button. And it just goes on forever. It's so easy. It doesn't even make it. It just means whenever you hold a note, it comes in and just keeps running. Amazing fun. And my pal there, Andrew, has bought one. Not an official one. He's bought it from a guy in Indonesia, which I've seen before, and I'm often wondered about. So I'd be interested to see how good that is compared to the actual Fernandez thing. I don't think it's a particularly complicated circuit. I think they've probably got a patent on it though, so that's why nobody makes a cheaper version, apart from this guy in Indonesia who obviously doesn't care about the law. But it's one of those things that it must have some parts in it. But I mean, if it was easy to make one, I found it amazing, great fun, and I found the Ebo absolutely pants, completely useless. It was like just sitting there, and it's so unnatural to play. You really have to want to play Gimme Shelter so much to actually get to use this thing. Horrible thing, but that's just my opinion. Maybe if it worked, maybe if the first thing I tried to do on it was really good, it would have been fine. But I can't be bothered playing Slide either. It doesn't sound very good immediately. How many times have I seen Status Quo? I think it's 4 times. Sustainiac copy. Malco will, yeah. Yeah, I saw them. The first time I saw them, I went with my pals. We saw them at the Armadillo. It was absolutely roasting, and they were doing some anniversary of some blues album they did. So every song they did was like slow blues and rubbish, and it was a terrible gig. And then about a year later, my mum and dad and my wee brother were going, like, go to a concert with my family. What? But I went anyway, and it was amazing. It was fantastic. It was humorous. That was at the SECC, and I think I went maybe the year after, a couple of years after, the Search for the Fourth Chord album. I've got a patch, which is kind of like the search for the fourth chord's written a bit like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, but it's Status Quo, the Search for the Fourth Chord. It's got like Rossi and Parfitt kind of dressed with like Indiana Jones hats, kind of looking for the fourth chord, which I thought was hilarious. And then I saw them at the Carling Academy with the original bass player, and it was very different. It was like, it wasn't just two of them in a band. It was like as soon as the other guy was in, Lancaster, the wee guy, curly hair, and he was just a total third of the band. He was a huge element of the band at that time, which I wasn't really aware of. I was always just aware of Parfit and Rossi. Yeah. Oh my god. I need to catch up. Oh, I'm getting caught up. Oh, keep sitting saying, yes, I will do a vid when I fit it. I might even do a vid of me fitting it. I don't know how hard it will be. I might do a vid of me fitting it. And then when it goes all wrong and the guitar goes on fire and stuff, I'll just not bother uploading the vid. I won't do it live. That's fine, because I don't want. I'll just pretend that it didn't go on fire. All right, I don't really know what orange boom is. Yeah, you ever tried ripping the speaker out and chopping the wee amps down and making yourself a mini head? Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of what use it would have for a mini head. I mean, yes, I don't see why that wouldn't work. You basically just take the two wires that go to the speaker and put a jack socket on it, and then voila. Yes, I could make a mini head. I can't really think of anything I could do with it. But I mean, I think, to be honest, that's any 6-inch speaker is going to sound pish, really. You know what I mean? I think they get round it with the Black Stars by having two speakers and cheating with it digitally by putting delays between the two and frequency voodoo to make it sound a bit better. But yeah, I mean, that wee up there's only got a 10-inch speaker in it. And to be fair, it actually sounds all right. It's a Jensen though, so I think it's like £100 speaker. But it doesn't compete with 3, whatever's in that. More is better. A big speaker is just better. So if you've got a big speaker, buy a big speaker. The thing is, you can pick up a speaker cabinet. It's so cheap. It's just that nobody's got room for a 4x12 and you can't afford carry it to gigs and all that. But I mean, if you just keep looking, you can pick up Marshall 4x12s all the time for 50 quid and stuff like that. I think I bought one for Wayne for. I think I paid 60 quid for one for Wayne, and then I saw another one which was close to him, and I think it was 20 quid with no speakers in it, and he turned it into a wine. So he's got 2 Marshall cabs. The top one's an actual speaker cabinet. The bottom one came without speakers in it. So he basically just took the back off it, and I think he uses it for storing wine behind it. Rocking in his man cave. Fantastic. I used to get the head off a shrew that was ruined in a pickup. Not really sure that. Half done with Discord. I said, okay, I'll see what it is. Yeah, totally. I'm drunk though now, obviously, I understand. Tigers of Pantang. Not Pant Tang, although Pant Tang is funnier. I know them from Josie Warman. He, the Warman pickups guy, who I've known for years. He's partly his fault. I do all the mad wiring. Just to give him kudos for that. When I was trying to wire up my 10 pickup decimator Flying V, I was on the forums and stuff like that asking us how to wire it up, and all these. I've been a guitar pro for 50 years. It can't be done. Blah blah blah. And Josie Warman was the one guy to get back to. And went, that's really mad. Go for it. I'm not sure exactly how you can do it, but yes, it can be done. Do it. I'm not sure what it would sound like, but do it. So I did it, and it worked. Even after all these pros who'd been doing it for 50 years said it was impossible. If you put 10 pickups on a guitar, the harmonic frequencies were all bollocks. Do what you want. You tap for the power. It's pretty easy. There's not much in it. Or the power of riff that I was doing. The one I was doing might not necessarily be the right one. Basically, Tony plays it on the 12th. So your power chord, 12, 14, 14. And there's a hammer on 12, 14. And then on the A string, the D string. The banjo join it. And it's easy. That's all you need. It's a lager, not a tune. Shite lager. I'm getting lost a little bit now. Doing the thing about zooming in rather than actually. Oh, the last one was shite lager. Anyway, yes. So I've well done my hour. And again, thanks for joining in. It was great. I was a little bit hungover at the start of this one. I'm kind of getting my second wind by kicking in this. A last question from anyone. Did I miss anything? If I missed somebody there, contact me. I keep meaning to say as well, see, when I get notifications on YouTube that people have been commented, sometimes it says blah 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 is commented and I get the first couple of lines, but when I actually click on it, it's gone and I can't see the message. So if I am dinging you, it might not be intentional. If you're calling me a bastard, I might be dinging you. But if it's something that's not like that, then I might not be getting it. And it seems to just disappear completely. And I've tried looking in different files and stuff like that. And it's just gone. But I can see blah, blah, blah. Stephen Murray, for example, because he's sitting there, sent you a message and it says, hey, Malco, have you? So I click on it and it doesn't exist. That's all I've got. So it's like, if that's happening, I'm sorry, try again until I see it. Yeah, and like and subscribe, and any requests or anything like that, give me a shout. If you want to see anything and you want me to look out for next week, drop it in the line in here. I will see most of the ads probably. Right, next week. So Andrew, you've got all your stuff, so I can just come and pick off the guitar. I've actually got a present for you. You won't be expecting. That sounds quite perverse. It's not a sexual thing. Honestly, I've got a present for you don't know about that will surprise you, and it's definitely nothing dodgy about it at all, even though I made it sound like, oh, you've not got a bit shit. Okay, give me a message when you've got all the bits. I think I'm going to see my pal tomorrow. Battery box, right? Okay, yeah, you mentioned that the other night. Yeah, so thanks everyone. Anyone wanting a guitar for? I've got this. I sold the Encore guitar with the 25 sound coil adder in it the other night for 125 quid, and this is a much better guitar. Sorry for the guy who bought it for 125 quid, but so I've got this on for like 160, which seems an awful lot for a small size Jim Deacon. I would go but it's a really good guitar. The neck on it's absolutely phenomenal. It's kind of almost a V-neck, and it's slightly small. It's a 24-inch scale. As I said, it's got an extra lever here. So it's got, when you've got that down, you get 5 Strat sounds, 5 hum cancelling Strat sounds, 5 humbucking Strat sounds. Got a split, so you get 5 phase, a phase switch, so you get 5 humbucking sounds and 5 hum cancelling sounds. This isn't actually a tone control, it's actually a high pass filter, and this is a low pass filter. So, I mean, this is like it does more than the Line 6 Variacs, but you have to program it. And this is like kind of like the way you program a synth. So if anyone's interested in this, wanting to swap it for something, it's a stunning guitar, and it's also quite easy if you're talking about for like a nephew or a kid or something like that. If you just put this, it's just quite easy. It's not that complicated to operate. Basically, the only crap sound, broken sounds, the phase ones, is if you've got this button pulled up. Everything else should sound like a guitar. So that is still up for sale. Someone asked me earlier on if I had any guitars for sale. Really, to be honest, just now, all I've got is that and the Hello Kitty guitar, which I'm not sure what to do with. Yes, and I've painted 2 Bucky casters. So there's 2 Bucky casters coming up. I think they're getting a coil adder 20 switch, which I've not done yet, which is basically sort of like that, apart from instead of having the middle tone control as a high pass filter, it'll be a rotary switch. So it'll give you, in rotary switch position 1, you'll have 5 Strat sounds, position 2 you'll have 5 hum cancelling, position 3 you'll have 5 humbucking, and position 4 you'll have 5 either out of phase humbucking or out of phase hum cancelling, depending on how I decide to do it, just with that. And then a master tone control. So that could be fun. Yes, I will check out Discord. Cheers, Alvin. I'll see what it's all about. Yes, I'll have a look. I'm a wee bit. I don't know enough about computers and how to run these things, but I'll try. If you can send me like a message to tell me what to click and how to do it, because I really am super crap with computers. To see what happens. Yeah. So that's us. So thanks very much, and thanks everyone for joining in. It's great fun. Next week I will not be drinking on Saturday night because drinking 2 nights in a row, I'm not 18. You know, it's like can't do that anymore. Oh, Rocket Ronnie, are you? I assume Rocket Ronnie is Rocket Ronnie. My pal Ronnie, who I've just fixed his thunder. You can contact me at malco@hotmail.co.uk or Mad Malco Guitars on Facebook. I should probably put my email on the page. I don't check it often enough. That's the thing. It's like I maybe don't check it every day, whereas if it on Messenger, it pings. Yeah, but if you Rocket Ronnie, you should be thinking about swapping that Flying V you've got for that Jim Deacon Strat. You'll really like it. It's kind of slightly small, but nothing like that Hofner travel guitar. Miles better. Yeah, so I'll make some noise to finish off. But did I have a... Look at me, Malky. Looks like my trailer on. Guys, I'm breaking out of sweat just playing the guitar. Ridiculous. Love y'all. Catch y'all later. Rock on and everything. And I can't think it says end. Sweat dripping off my nose. Love y'all. Catch y'all later. Woo!